Today we're going to create a text file. This topic is going to be taught in Term 2 to grade 11s. The first way of creating a text file is through Notepad. You can launch Notepad, and all I have done is I've typed a list of country names on Notepad. Notepad is an editor. It can be used to create a text file. I'm going to click on File. I'm going to click on Save As. And I'm going to give this file a suitable name. I'm going to call it Countries. Your file type must be TXT, and you can save this text file. So this is the first way of creating a text file using Notepad. The second way of creating a text file is on your Delphi code editor. So you can launch Delphi and go into File, New, and select Other. Under Other, you would have Other Files, and you can select Text File and say OK. That's your second way of creating a text file using the Delphi code editor. The third way of creating a text file is using Delphi coding. And today I'm going to pay specific attention to how to create a text file using the Delphi code. I've created a Delphi project. I've called my project, there's my libraries, create file _u. Within the project, I've created a form. And if you want, you can actually rename your form, and let's call this form Countries or country names. So I've given the form a caption and I've called it Country Names. I've put in a memo and I've relabeled the memo to Mem Display. I've got two buttons. One is Create File and one is Create File with Exception Handling. So let's start writing code for a simple technique of how to create a new text file. So in creating a new text file, the first thing you want to do is in your variable section is to create a variable. I'm going to create tfile as my variable. It could be anything that you could create. It could be tfile, it could be my file, it could be create file. It's just a file variable name. And this file variable name is of data type text file. So the first step is to create a file variable, which I have called tfile, and tfile is of data type text file. I'm going to be using a procedure called assign file, and all assign file does, it creates a link between your tfile, which is your logical file, your internal file variable. This is the file name that you will use throughout your Delphi project or your program, and your external file variable, which I am going to call countries.txt. And .txt is your file extension for a text file. So assign file again is a procedure. It creates a link between the logical file, which is tfile, and your physical file, which is countries.txt. You can put in a comment, it makes the program more readable, and you could say it links the logical file to the physical file. Writing comments in a program also helps you, the learner, to study easier, okay? Because you know exactly what your program is doing, and when you go back to a particular segment of a program, you can look at the comments that you have written, and that would make you understand what you actually did in your code. Rewrite is a procedure, and rewrite is going to allow me to create a new file. It will set the file pointer at the beginning of the file to write data to the file. So we're actually in write mode. If the file already exists, the rewrite procedure would overwrite the contents of the file. So all I'm going to say is rewrite T file. You could put in a show message. It's just a message to say that the file has been created. Successfully created. So all I have done here is firstly I created a variable. The variable can be called anything. It's of data type text file. I've used a procedure assign file because I need to link my variable that I've created, which is my logical file name, to my physical file, which is stored in a secondary storage medium, in this case on your hard drive. Rewrite is going to allow me to create a new file. It's a procedure, so I'm rewriting my T file, which is my logical file, and then all I've done is put in a message to say that the file has been successfully created. If you run this program and you go run, and I click on create file, it gives me a message to say file successfully created, and if I say OK, it would have successfully created the file. And if you open that file, countries.txt has been successfully created. Okay. The second way of what I'm going to do is on your design view, I've got another button that I've got create file with exception handling. So if you double click on that, it's going to take you to the code. I have code that I've already prepared for you, say, to save on time. So all I've done here is I'm going to use an exception handling technique that will catch an error in the event of the file countrynames.txt not successfully created. So there's your file variable again, T file. It's a data type text file. My assign file again, T file, my internal or logical file variable, and my physical file, which I named in this exercise, countrynames.txt. So in my try statement, I'm going to use rewrite T file. So what rewrite will do, again, it prepares the file in write mode. So it prepares the file, takes the file pointer to the beginning of the file, and it prepares the file for writing data to a file. But in this instance, rewrite is going to create a new file. We're on write mode and we're going to create a new file. So you could say write mode and probably create a new file. Remember the rewrite procedure, if the file already exists, it's going to overwrite data in that file. In my except statement, I'm going to catch an error in case the file cannot be created, and this will prevent the program from crashing. So all I could do is I did create a memo, so I could say memdisplay.lines.add, or you could use a show message. And all I'm going to say here, I'm going to put an error message, for example, unable to create file. So your try except statement is an exception handling technique that will display an error message in the event that country names.txt cannot be created. If you run this button, and I click on it, create file with exception, and I open country names.txt on Notepad, and there's your file successfully created with an error exception. Thank you, learners, for listening. I hope I've assisted you and showed you a very simple and easy technique to create a new text file. My next lesson, keep an eye on it, it's going to be on how do I add data to country names.txt.